Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, and amazing people all over the world of crypto and blockchain. And today I have another amazing guest. He is Robert Grzesik. He is the CEO of LumiWealth. Robert, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to the conversation. I'll kick things off and ask you my first question is what is your background and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was kind of born to do this, to be quite honest with you. My background is, I started programming computers when I was very young. I was maybe 10, 12 years old, something like that, when I started coding. Started my first software business when I was 15 years old. Sold a company in my early 20s, like a software company. And basically throughout the entire process, I was really obsessed with investing and finance. I actually have a master's in finance, so it's something that I've always thought really applies very well to the software world, right? Like the reason why, or one of the reasons why I got a master's in finance was just like the software and the finance just makes so much sense together, right? I could actually imagine a world in the future where software has almost solved investing in a way, right? Where there is probably some sort of optimal way of distributing capital throughout the world. And if we're going to get there, it's probably going to be through something like AI or something along those lines, right? So did that for quite a while. I worked on Wall Street for a number of years as well, and then started a company called Voyager, which if you're in the crypto space, you've probably heard of it. We got pretty big. We actually got really, really big. I joined the company when it was like four people there. So I think it's employee number four, number five. And basically built the thing from scratch. It was a Coinbase competitor where you could trade through the app the same way as Coinbase. We also did a lot of lending, which eventually got us in trouble. We basically took the company from zero, hit $1 billion market cap on the TSX Venture, and then basically dropped right back down to zero after this whole around the time when FTX went down. Really, it was Three Arrows Capital, if you remember those guys. They're like a really big hedge fund. They're way over leveraged, and then crypto prices fall, and then they owed us $650 million. Couldn't pay back the loan, and there goes our company. So yeah, a blown that big can really get you, right? But yeah, so I mean, I've been doing this stuff for a while. We're working on LumiWealth now. We started off as an education company where we are teaching people how to use software to trade, basically. Because you could use Python to do a lot of really good data science type things and automation and whatnot. And about a year ago, technology changed quite dramatically when it comes to coding, as I'm sure you've probably heard of the term vibe coding, right? That didn't exist a year ago. So what we're basically building out is a vibe coding platform for trading, right? So you could you could go into Lovable, you could vibe code a website now, you could vibe code all sorts of different things, and we're allowing you to vibe code trading strategies.
So I've heard of vibe coding. I've heard of it. I hear it all the time. I actually don't know what it is.
Well, so basically, so what vibe coding is regular coding is basically you have to sit down, you have to write code, right? You have to say if this, then this, and you have to actually write all this code and figure out how it works. Whereas vibe coding is quite different. Instead of you actually writing any code, I've been programming for 25 plus years, right? Not to date myself too much, but as soon as these models start getting that good, and these days it doesn't really make sense for me to code anymore because these machines are able to do thousands of lines of code in minutes, whereas this would take me days to do. Like I'm literally several times more efficient. And what it is basically me talking to the computer. Literally, I turn on my microphone and I talk to it and I tell it, move this button here, make this green, make this, password work in such and such a way, whatever. And the computer goes off and actually codes it for me rather than me doing it myself. That's essentially what vibe coding is.
Okay, I understand that. All right, good.
Yeah.
so, um, and I have one question in your background. So, Masters in Finance, is that MBA in Finance? Is that MS Finance?
That well, I think it was a master's of science in finance. I think that's what, or a master's of economics or master's of science, one of those. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
I
not
got,
an MBA because
oh,
I had the option of doing an MBA, but I decided against it because I had already a business degree from my undergrad, so it's just like repeating a lot of stuff. So I wanted to like specialize.
okay. I have a master's of science in finance as well.
Oh,
So that's
nice,
what, yeah, that's why I asked. I went to Drexel for that grad school. So,
nice, very cool, awesome.
yeah. So, BotSpot. What is BotSpot all about, including your long range vision and mission for the company platform?
Yeah, so I mean, we could start with the vision and work our way back, right? So the vision behind the company is basically creating something like a Jarvis. Jarvis being from um, the what's it called? From the Iron Man series, right? Where he talks to his virtual assistant and he's able to build all these crazy things, right? He's able to build like an Iron Man suit and whatever, and he's able to basically say, "Hey, use this." Rocket and do this, whatever, like combine all this stuff and able to build these types of suits. And they're quite complex. And it's this synergy between a machine and a human, right? He's still directing a lot of where it goes, but the machine's doing kind of the heavy lifting and giving him advice and things like that. So that's basically what we're building for the investing world, right? We want to build your personal Jarvis, right? Where instead of you saying, you guys are a lot about crypto, so there's a lot that applies there. But let's say, for example, options, right? Options is something that people struggle with quite often, right? Where when should you buy this call option? Should you buy a spread? How far out of the money? What expiry dates? Like there's all these different things that you got to think about when you're buying options, for example, right? Whereas what we could do is we could actually test all those different ideas. We could say, okay, well, you're buying Tesla options, right? You want to buy Tesla. Let's try all the different scenarios, right? So like, what if we did this much out of the money? What if we did this? What if we did this? We could try all those different scenarios for you, right? And actually help you build out the strategy that is optimized based on historical results. And we could also do Monte Carlo simulations, things like that. And then based on those results, not only are we going to give you, okay, this is the thing to trade or the thing that, makes the most sense based on the data, but we could also automate that for you. All right. We can automate it for you. It can actually trade that for you. Because, for example, and I'm just using options here as one thing, but like many investment strategies are similar where, it's going to be difficult to actually time it correctly. People have day jobs. People want to do things with their lives, right? So we could actually automate that for you. Make sure you never miss a beat, right? It's buying exactly the right time every single time, right? And it's also notifying you if something's going wrong, right? So if all of a sudden, your thesis changes and this thing is not performing so well, we're going to let you know and kind of give you some guidance around, okay, maybe we could change this or change this, and that sort of thing. So we have that whole type of mechanism where we could build those types of things. And we also have a marketplace so that if you build something, you could sell it to me and I could actually pay you for creating this strategy and for using your strategy, right? So in some ways, it's creating kind of like this hedge fund type of trading environment.
And what are the if you're doing that in crypto, what are your options as far as buying? Is everything available under the sun, or you limited?
So we connect to certain exchanges, right? We don't do DeFi just yet, although that's something that's definitely on our radar. We connect to Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, um, BitMEX, a bunch of different brokers, and basically whatever assets they have and whatever is available through them, you can do.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds promising.
Hmm.
Um, so I would be considered. I'm not a semi-professional. Been in crypto since 2017, but I don't work for institutions. So I would say everyday investor, average investor to be. How do you empower average investors to be, to use Wall Street quality algorithms and in a way that they can understand?
Yeah, so a lot of it is revolving around our AI and our marketplace, right? So our AI is going to help you build these things out. It can answer questions for you. It can say, what should you be doing? And it could actually go off and build it for you and try it and see what the results are. So it's this really good assistance, kind of like having your own personal analyst, right? They could ask and say, should I be trading this? Should I be trading that? And it's like, well, let's try it out, right? And it can actually get the data for you, back test it, do all that kind of stuff, right? And then, so you're able to build these strategies if that's what you want to do. You want to be more in charge of what you're trading, you can definitely go ahead and do that. Or you could go to our marketplace. You could say, well, what are other people doing that's making them money, right? It's very transparent, right? You could see what their back testing results were. You could see how much money they've been making. You could see all that kind of stuff. Or so you could just choose something that someone else has already made, right?
Got it. Yeah, that concerns me a little bit because recently there's been a few run ups of coins that no one's expected, and now they're buying them and like, okay, well, this went up 30%. I mean, 300%. So
Mhm.
like capturing that is something that I wonder if AI can do when no one's capturing it, because AI is dependent upon the knowledge of everything that's out there. So in cases like that, when someone wants to make that astronomical gain and there's no history of that happening, how do you capture that? You know,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the magic of investing, right? It's like this is a competitive marketplace and everyone has to try to get an edge, right? That's why, we had the option we could just make a hedge fund and just kind of invest for people. But I don't think that's the best way of doing this sort of thing, right? Because there's so much complexity in the world that someone else is going to find some sort of edge, right? So, you're buying, for example, you're buying these small coins, you're buying them for, pennies on the dollar or whatever. And there's a lot of different ways they could try to predict these things, or at least I've heard of people trying to predict them, right? Where, you could look at volume and seeing like how is the volume doing relative to the price. You could do things like, anything that has momentum that's moving quickly, jump into it, right? You could have things that are looking at sentiment on different social networks. There's all sorts of different ways that you could try to find those things, right? And we're more about trying to figure out a holistic strategy to find those things rather than, the single coins by themselves, right? And if you're doing this with a machine, right, not only are you able to have a more regimented approach to this, right? So you could say, okay, let's have like a rating criteria. For example, let's look at all the small coins on this broker, right? And we'll say, okay, if it matches all of those criteria that I described, right? It has sentiments growing very quickly, right? It's in a momentum upswing with high volume, right? Check, check, check. If all those things hit, then go and buy that coin. And you could first of all do this in a more calculated fashion because you could say, well, how would that have worked in the past? Right? Would this have worked over the past year or two? You could back test it, right? So you have a better idea without just saying kind of winging it, which is what most people do, really. Kind of just saying, this will probably work, right? But how do you know? What's the evidence behind that, right? We could actually back test it and figure out is that true or not, right? That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen in the future, but it gives you more indication, right? So you could be more calculated in your decisions. And then also, it can catch it immediately, right? As opposed to, even if you had that strategy and you knew it was a good idea, I mean, you're driving, you're off for dinner, you're sleeping, in the case of crypto, like a lot of this stuff, you wake up and like, what the heck happened overnight, right? You know what I mean? Like having a machine do that for you is very, very helpful, right?
I'm going to agree with you. I came in 2017. I was an ICO advisor, and like I was up for every 2 hours because when Asia woke up, I was up, and then when Europe woke up, I was up, and like it was like it's unsustainable,
Yep.
you know.
Especially in crypto. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's got a little better, but I used to think I used to think that investing for utility and institutional adoption opportunities was the way to invest. And recently, I say over the past 4 or 5 months, my gears has changed more toward okay, you know, um, what has high volume and momentum, what the sentiment is. So I still don't know what the proper formula is, you know. So what do you think people should be considering, and what barriers do you think need to be broken down so that people can understand what a good investment would be?
Yeah, so again, I'd go back to the back testing, right? I'd say, look at historical data, right? And try your strategy out, right? So most people that I speak to that have these types of things, and we've actually backtested a lot of this stuff. So I could tell you, like, momentum does count, volume does count, sentiment does count. We've actually tested all these things, and that's why I'm saying these things, because I know based on the data that there is something there, right? It's not everything. I think, more of like a check system, right? Like, does this count? Does this count? And you're still not going to get all of them, right? But at least you have a higher accuracy, right? Um, so we've actually backtested a lot of stuff, and I can tell you based on data that that's kind of the case here, right? Um, what we've created is this AI that allows you to do that very easily, right? Like most people to do that kind of stuff, the reason why they don't do it is because it's really damn hard to do that, right? Like you have to be a computer scientist, you have to be a data scientist, you have to know where do you get this data. You have to know how do you backtest it? How do you run a backtest? Where do you run a backtest? Where do you get this data from? Right? Like all this stuff is very complicated. And up until like before the vibe coding era, right? This is only about a year. It's crazy to think how fast this stuff is moving. But about a year ago, the term vibe coding didn't exist. No one talked about vibe coding. That wasn't a thing, right? Whereas and I can tell you the specific moment is when ChatGPT released the O1 model. That's when things changed, right? That's, when at least me personally, I was able to go in, tell the computer, write me some set of code, and it actually did it better than me, which is crazy, right? Like that's like I've been doing this my whole life. It's like it could code better than me. That's insane, right? It's not perfect. It still has its flaws, but it's getting exponentially better very, very quickly, right? So now you could basically have the equivalent of a data scientist that's worked at a hedge fund for quite a few years in your pocket, right? You go to the website, you go, hey, I'm thinking about trading Bitcoin, but I want to trade it, based on if the moving averages cross, or like you might have some ideas in your head. Just type it out or say it. You could use a microphone on your phone or whatever else. This is what I'm thinking about doing. It will build it for you, back test it for you, and then you can have a conversation with it. You could say, well, what else can we do to improve this? Well, it will say, well, you made a couple bad trades here and here and here. Maybe if you changed your moving average to be something else, it could actually like go through the data and help you analyze all this stuff. This would have before you would have had to learn, like, and we were teaching it actually. And I know this because we spent a good 4 or 5 years teaching people how to do this. It takes years to learn it, right? Like if you're not a coder, you would have to sit down and learn Python. You'd have to learn how data works. You'd have to learn how to interact with a database. You have to learn all these different things. Now you just don't have to do that, right? You can just talk to the AI. It can do it for you, and that's it.
That sounds good to me. Um, I coded a lot. I can't sit down and code, but I can understand and SQL, run queries in SQL. Python, no. So, um, but I want to find out. You talked about strategy quite a few times, and there are strategy marketplaces, right? So, what are strategy marketplaces, and what does the optimal multi-agent architecture look like to you?
Yeah, so one of those questions is a lot more difficult than the other. It's something we think about actually quite a bit. But yeah, so to start with the easier one, so what is a marketplace? So a marketplace is basically, again, I could go into this AI, I could build a strategy, right? And then, not everyone wants to build strategies. Not everyone cares. Not everyone has the mind for it, right? Like I'd say the majority of people just don't want to do that, right? There's like whatever, I'm busy. I don't need to go mess around with like is if this then that and different, indicators and whatever. A lot of people don't want to mess with that. A lot of people just want to say this is a strategy that's been working well for someone else. Let me just copy it, right? And that's essentially what a marketplace is that we're allowing people to create their own strategies but then share them with others as well. So instead of me saying, I want to go and build some crazy new Bitcoin strategy that trades whatever, I could just see, oh, someone else built something and they're using a 200-day moving average and they're using, maybe Bitcoin futures, right, to leverage it a little bit, and they've been doing very, very well, right? Why don't I just hit copy and just use that, right? Very simple, right? You could have it as free. Some marketplaces are free, some marketplaces are paid. Right now, our marketplace is free. We're planning on adding the ability to charge for it, probably by the end of the year. Where if you create a strategy, you could charge $20 a month or $50 a month or whatever for it. So even if you're someone who doesn't have the capital, you could still make great strategies and sell them to other people and make money that way, right? So we want to incentivize people to create these things. So that's a strategy marketplace. This is how, I believe this is the way that we actually beat these big hedge funds, right? Like a big hedge fund, they hire these like brilliant people. I was talking to my friend the other day. It's like Citadel hired recently some 16-year-old that won like the math Olympiad for the world, like before he even got into college, like some crazy stuff like that, right? Um, like they get to hire these like insane people, they hire Nobel laureates, right? Like if you want a Nobel Prize, Citadel will hire you. You know what I mean? Like these are like crazy smart people that they hired. They have the money for it, right? How do you beat someone like that? Right? Like how do you beat a Citadel? How do you beat a Bridgewater? How do you beat any of these types of companies? Well, I'm a strong believer in kind of like the Instagram model, right? Kodak back in the day was exactly like that. There's a big company, you want to get your photos developed, it's difficult to do, it's expensive, whatever. But then Instagram comes along and makes it a heck of a lot cheaper and very easy to share pictures with other people. All of a sudden, Kodak gets taken down. This is our plan, right? We want to do the same thing to these big hedge funds, the Citadels of the world. We want to fight back by allowing people to share strategies with each other and work collaboratively rather than behind a walled garden, right? This is what we believe in, right? So that's your answer to what a strategy marketplace. I hope, does that make sense or
Yes, it does.
yeah. And
It does.
then your second question is, can you repeat it again? You're talking about how agents work, or how did you phrase it?
Yeah. What's your vision for the optimal multi-agent AI architecture?
Yeah, this is a lot harder one, right? We think about this a lot. Um, I don't think we have that fully fleshed out yet. I think that's a difficult thing to figure out. And it's funny how, when you're building stuff in AI, the ground is shifting so quickly that like things that make sense today don't make sense tomorrow, right? Like it's like things are shifting very quickly. But I can tell you based on what I see right now and kind of where I see the market going is I believe we need a few different types of AI agents, right? I think we need to have an AI agent that helps you build and research strategies, right? That's basically what we currently have on our website. We have an agent that does that, right? Then I believe we need another agent that can do long-term optimizations for you. So something like a back tester, right? Where I might say, okay, I like to trade Tesla options, right? What's the best way of doing this, right? Like what's going to give me the optimal thing? And it's just going to spend the entire night trying everything for you, right? It's gonna make 100 different variations. It's going to back test all of them. It's going to come back to you with a report. And it's going to say, hey, this is what I found, right? This is the one that got the highest returns. This is one that had the highest Sharpe ratio. This is the one that had the biggest drawdowns, right? And here's your report, and here's what my summary is of that, right? So we're building an agent like that as well that can work on a more long-term basis and do more research for you, even away from you, right? You can give it a task, it just goes off, right? Then we believe that we need to have a risk management, a trading agent, right? Something that's going to basically check up on your strategy, right? And there's a few different ways they could check up on your strategy while it's running, right? Which is, first of all, is it doing what it's supposed to do, right? You told it to trade options on a Thursday at 3 p.m., for Tesla, whatever. Is it actually doing that, right? Or is there something going wrong with it, right? Like, it's not able to find the right strike prices, or maybe there's some sort of spread issue, or, you know what I mean? It can like look for all these different potential problems and alert you of them, right? From like a trading perspective. It could also do things like monitor your risk. It could say, okay, well, I'm seeing that these assets are moving in such and such a way. We're seeing volatility spike here. There's sentiment changing, right? This might be a risk for you here, right? Kind of to warn you about things. And there's a lot of things you could do around risk, right? You could do a lot of things around like, is the environment changing, right? Is the market going a specific way? Has there been some difference in the thesis, right? Based on what you kind of made this thing in the first place? Has that thesis changed, right? Are you not diversified enough, right? Are you very concentrated in certain bets? And that doesn't mean just, I own a lot of Bitcoin. That can mean I own a lot of correlated assets, right? And it can kind of warn you about those things. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do as you're trading as well to kind of just monitor things, let you know, this problem's happening, this risk is popping up, and allow you to basically take action on that as well, right? And then another agent that we've been talking about and that my team keeps trying to convince me to build, and our customers too, that keep talking about this like crazy, is an agent that basically will sit on top of like everything, right? We'll monitor. These are all the different strategies that all of our clients are running, and these are all the different things on our marketplace. Obviously, paying attention to privacy, right? Like if you don't want to share your stuff, we don't look at it. But if you're allowing it to be public and it's on the marketplace, then we can have an agent that's looking at all those things and then automatically invest in things for you, right? And say, I know what your investment goals are, right? This is the type of risk that you're willing to take. These are the types of assets that you like trading, right? And I'm finding that these strategies are doing very well. So let me buy strategy A, F, and G, right? And then basically build a portfolio for you and automatically run that for you. That one's a little bit more complicated because it basically implies that we're financial advisors and there's legal ramifications behind that. But that's also something that we're exploring as well. I think we'd have to work with a financial advisor or get someone with a license to help us do that. But yeah, those are a couple of ones that we're looking at. I think as the environment changes, as things improve, as technology gets better, I think we're going to find more and more of these types of agents that we can run. But the point is that you're having this whole team of not people, right? Team of robots basically making sure that your investments are going well, right?
I like it. I like it. But I do have a question. I mean, you might not see this yet, but let's go back to your Voyager days.
Hmm.
Okay. There is still a theory out there that Terra Luna got crashed by the hedge funds in Chicago. Now, I don't know how accurate that was, and no one's proven it, although it's a good theory, hypothesis, or whatever. But if you're successful, wildly successful at this, and could people say, you know, hedge funds say, well, this guy ran Voyager into the ground. It went from zero up to a billion back to. So why are you trusting their agents? Like, wouldn't that be an avenue of attack? You know, how do you mitigate that? How do you say, okay, no, this is proven for investor? How do you what's your path to be able to not be viewed at negatively by those hedge funds?
I mean, I personally think, you know, in the investing world, um, I think that's kind of the default, right? I mean, every time that we sell our product to someone else, I mean, by default, they think that we're crooks. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the crypto world, right? Like, try advertising anything crypto related. I mean, the comments that you get are kind of crazy. Like, everyone automatically assumes you're stealing their money, right? Like, that's you know, table stakes, right? So we're all about trying to make things more trustworthy and all that. And yeah, it's a valid concern, right? Um, you know, we get around the whole problem of, you know, are we going to steal your money by just linking up to brokers, right? We don't take your money, right? The brokers take your money. You trust the brokers. They have their own security processes in place. If you trust Coinbase, you know, you should trust us because we don't own that money. We're just controlling the Coinbase account, right? So that's one thing, you know, a lot of not hedge funds, but like retail investors very frequently cite that concern, right? Is that you're going to steal their money, right? Um, which by the way is a very valid concern because the amount of customers that I have heard have had their money stolen through crypto scams is just unbelievable. Like I could tell you like dozens of stories. It's crazy, right? It's like, and like the sophistication of some of these things is pretty wild, right? Um, so I think that's kind of the first thing that you need to address from a trust standpoint. Is like, is your money safe? The custody of your money, is it safe? Right? That's number one, right? Then number two, you know, we have to think about, is this thing doing the correct trading? Is it trading correctly? Is it doing what it's supposed to do? Right. And that's something that we are constantly working on. It's AI. So AI can get ahead of itself sometimes, which is why we're building these agents to like check, is this thing doing well? It's not even just about having this agent build it out and then you could back test it, you could paper trade it, you could do all these things to like prevent you know, is this thing wrong? Did it build it incorrectly? Right. But then we could even monitor it as it's trading itself, right? So we have all these different layers of protection, right? And we're still working on them, right? We're still getting better at this. It's not an easy problem to solve, but it's something that we believe within the next few months we'll have like pretty much fully on lock, where you tell it to do something and it's just going to fully listen to what you're doing, right? So that's like the next risk, right? Is that you tell the AI, like I don't know if you how often you use AI, but as someone who's a coder uses AI on a regular basis, you tell it to do one thing, and then like, what the hell? Make it a Frankenstein, right? Like, what the hell did you do, right? Like, I didn't ask for that, right? Like that happens so often, right? So we really need to do a lot of mitigation around that, and like I said, we have this agent that's going to be checking if you're trading correctly. We have back testing, we have paper trading, we have all these different things to mitigate that, right? So that's another risk. Another risk is, okay, you ran this strategy and it's doing what it's supposed to do, but that was just a bad idea, right? How do you mitigate that, right? Well, some ways you can mitigate that is just having track records behind things, which is why we believe in transparency. We have a marketplace. You can watch these things trade for like months or years before you can decide to get in. You've seen the track record. You've seen it actually do this, right? So not only do I know that, you're not going to take my money because, I'm working with Coinbase, right? And Coinbase has their own protections, right? Um, not only do I know that this thing is going to do what it's supposed to do because it's been trading for 2 years and doing it already, and the back tests show it does what it does. There's paper trading. I ran it. Maybe you could run it yourself, paper trading for a bit, if you want that extra layer of confidence, right? You could kind of see that it's doing what it's supposed to do. But then also you have that track record that says, yeah, this seems like a good idea too, right? We've ran it for 2 years. It's been working, right? It's been doing what's supposed to do. We've back tested it for 20 years and it's gotten through these big market crashes, right? This starts to give you a lot more confidence, right? So I think it's a multi-tiered approach. I think probably the most important thing in any investment companies, what they're doing is trust. I think trust is very, very important.
And with that, you're reaching beyond these technical gatekeepers that used to exist as gatekeepers, and people are going to be having the opportunities to like no longer need to rely on the gatekeepers and that they don't trust, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, you know, um, do you trust Fidelity advisors? Right? I mean, like, I wouldn't really trust a Fidelity advisor, right? Maybe a lot of people think they would because it's Fidelity and they have a lot of, you know, branding behind their name. But the truth is that Fidelity advisor is probably going to sell you a mutual fund, and that's not for your best interest, right? So, the trust factor it goes a long way, right?
Yeah. Got it. Well, I want to thank you very much for a wonderful conversation. Time flew by. I love talking about this stuff with you. So thank you.
Yeah.
One last question. It's really easy. How can people find out more information about you, about BotSpot? How can they become customers? Start using, BotSpot to their advantage. How can they do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a YouTube channel. You can follow us on YouTube, LumiWealth, LumiWealth. We do a live session every Thursday where you can watch me trade using our AI tools, right? So you can see me using real money, trading real money, what kind of outcomes am I getting, that sort of thing. You can actually watch me do that, which kind of shows you, the different strategies that we're working on and all that, but also kind of shows you how to use the platform and, different techniques and things like that. So we have that. So if you join our YouTube, subscribe to us, you'll get that notification when this pops up and you can actually watch us do that. And then of course you could also go to the and we also send out we take that stuff and make like little clips about it. So if you don't want to watch the whole session, you can watch like the shorts that we create from that. Um, and then obviously you can go to the website itself. Go to botspot.trade, BOTSPOT.trade. It's not .com. Botspot.com is a very different company somewhere out in Europe. But botspot.trade, you can go there and just try it out. We have a free trial, so you have nothing to lose. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. It's been a great conversation.